Okay, time for a new video, and whether you are somebody new to my channel or you are returning to my channel to watch this video, it is greatly appreciated. As always, I'm filming this in one go, so if I stumble over my words going forwards, I apologise in advance, and as always, I apologise in advance too if the quality of this video is fairly poor, if there's any lag, anything like that at all. Sadly it cannot be helped, and hopefully it's not too much of an issue for you. This is yet another Eurovision Song Contest 2020 related video here on my channel. Specifically, I'll be focusing on Sweden, because at the time of recording, the grand final of this year's Melodifestivalen is just 2 days away on the 7th of March. 12 acts will take to the stage at the Friends Arena, this vast football stadium in Stockholm, and we will find out which song Sweden wants to represent them in the upcoming Eurovision Song Contest, which will be this May, of course, in Rotterdam in the Netherlands. Now, Sweden hasn't finished outside the top 10 since they were hosts in 2013, I believe, in Malmö. So they are consistently strong. They are battling Ireland in terms of victories and the opportunity to be crowned kings of Eurovision, I guess. It looks as though they might do very well again this year. Certainly there's a fan favourite or two in this lineup, and what I'm going to do is go through the 12 songs, give you my thoughts, and I will try to be brief because I've already spoken about these songs in previous Melfest related videos. Go back and watch them if you so wish. I discussed all of the semi-finals and the second chance round, which was last week. So I'm just going to get straight into it, I think. The only name in the grand final who hasn't appeared at all in Melfest previously is Paul Ray. Everybody else has featured in Melfest at some point in the past, so it's not exactly the freshest lineup, but never mind. Song 1 in this year's Melfest lineup is Troubled Waters by last year's Estonian representative Viktor Kroner. Now, he came through semi-final 4 in Malmö. I think he was the runner-up, personally, in that semi-final. Something that I've noticed with a lot of the performances in this year's Melfest is how the lighting isn't always what you would perhaps expect for an up-tempo number. Certainly with Victor, there are a lot of flashing lights at certain points, but otherwise it's quite dull and dark, and the same can be said for the Mamas. Again, with Mariette, quite a few flashing lights at certain points, but otherwise it's not the most vibrant, colourful performance that we're getting from these musicians. Anyway, Troubled Waters, it's a fine piece of pop, quite slick, quite polished, exactly the sort of thing you would expect to appear in a Melfest final. Victor is not a bad singer, he's quite charismatic, he's got a fair dose of energy, but I feel as though this is a little bit too difficult for him to sing. Certainly his semi-final performance didn't blow me away at all. I think he was struggling with some of the high notes. He did the best he could. It is quite a difficult song to sing and perform in general. But I think he's really got to nail it this weekend because he's on first. I don't think anybody's really expecting this song to finish in the top 3 or even the top 5. I'd be surprised if this did really well, but it is a fine song. I like it. It feels fairly modern. It's up-tempo. I think it's a good opener to the show, but it's not a winner, let's be honest. Song 2, another song where the staging and the visuals are all fairly dark, if you see what I mean. It is one of the second chance round qualifiers, Talking in My Sleep by Paul Ray. Now, this guy is doing fairly well, I believe, in the Spotify charts in Sweden, so that could be a sign that people are really going to gravitate towards this one in the grand final. He beat out Malu Pritz, which was really disappointing because Malu's song Ballerina is still my personal favourite of this year's Melfest, and she's not even in the final. Great. But anyway, Paul Ray, Talking in My Sleep. This was in the third... No, it wasn't. It was in the second semi-final in Gothenburg, and I think he probably did finish third on that night. This is low-key, quite a gentle tune. It's nothing we haven't heard before, though. The lyrics, the melody, the crowd with their glow sticks, you know, it's exactly as you would expect. You know, having heard the studio version before he first performed this, you could have predicted what the performance was going to end up looking like. He's a pretty good singer. He is sort of skipping around the stage at one point, if I recall, which I'm not such a fan of. I don't think that's totally necessary, but it's such a minor quibble. This is fine. It's just a very safe rather bland sort of tune. I'm not totally loving it. However, it looks as though the public might well go big for this, if you believe what the Spotify charts are saying, and I think the juries will appreciate this quite a bit as well. Song 3 then, one of the strongest songs in this lineup as far as I'm concerned, and again, quite dark in terms of the aesthetic. It's Move by the Mamas. Now this was hotly tipped well before Melfest even got going. The Mamas went through from semi-final 1 in Linköping. I think they probably won that semi-final, but they're on early here. Maybe that's a sign they didn't quite win this semi-final, I don't know. But anyway, the Mamas, 3 women, great voices, great energy. This is so hard to dislike, you know. It's a very, very likeable tune. It's soulful, it's passionate, it's sassy, there's a fierceness to it as well, but it's not super in your face. That little shuffling dance move, it's all really simple. It's all about the vocals. I think this is a terrific little tune that deserves to push for the win. I think the juries will really love this, and at one point recently I thought that the juries were absolutely going to love this so much that no other song stood a chance. Now, obviously, we have arguably stronger contenders in the mix, but this deserves to do well. I think it will get a lot of points. I really enjoy it. It could be our Melfest winner, but only if the juries give this so many points and the public are really on board as well. Song 4 is a song that gets more disappointing every time I hear it. It's Winners by Mohombi. Now, Mohombi's a very experienced musician, was in Melfest last year with Hello, that did quite well, and he's had a few hits all around the world in the past. This is, again, very safe, a bit uninspired. I feel as though I've heard it plenty of times in the past. He's got this sort of circular structure around him, which is very similar to what Armenia had in Lisbon in 2018 with Sevak Kanagyan, if you remember. This is somewhat upbeat, but I don't really recall too much about it. I just thought that it was a really sort of forgettable performance. Really, I don't recall much about this at all. I think Mohombi is going to finish towards the bottom half. You know, he's come back to Melfest, but with a weaker song. Very hard to say how well he will do for sure, but I think towards the bottom half. Song 5, this could be our Melfest winner. It's the beautiful Hannah Fern, who was also in Melfest last year, teaming up with Liamu, and she finished 3rd with Hold You. And this song is called Brave. And this is different from Hold You in the sense that Hold You was certainly a lot simpler and gentler, I suppose. This is more catchy and uplifting in a way. She's wearing a dress that's very similar to what Jessica Malboy was wearing for Australia in Lisbon 2 years ago, and the performance as a whole has been compared to Jessica Malboy's performance 2 years ago. Hannah sings quite well, however a lot of people have commented on the fact that they can't understand what she's singing in the chorus, apart from the word brave. I'm inclined to agree. I think the vocals could be a little bit stronger, the performance as a whole could be a bit stronger, and more toned down. When I saw this performance in the 4th semi-final, yes, and I think she won that semi-final, by the way, it was all a bit too slick. There were some quick camera shots, you know, and it was almost as if she had a bit too much to do on top of the singing. And sometimes it's very hard to juggle those two things, of course, where you've got to move, the dance moves, and then you've got to look in this camera and that camera, and you've got to keep singing at the same time. I feel as though she maybe struggled just a touch with all of that stuff going on. Of course, they're not really going to change this. It's going to be the same in the grand final. Hannah, I think this song's a little bit disappointing. I wasn't really sure what to expect when I saw her name in the Melfest lineup again. But I was expecting something arguably a little bit stronger than this. She was on last in the 4th semi-final, and usually if you're performing there, you've got a real cracker of a song. This, not so much. It's good, but is it going to be our winner? I don't think so. But it's not bad. Song 6 is another second chance round qualifier. I expected this. Mendes, who is a bit of a Melfest veteran. He's been involved plenty of times in the past, almost won in 2002, and the other year he didn't finish anywhere with the juries, but the public really loved him. So could we see something similar again? Probably, you never know. Anyway, he's teamed up with Alvaro Estrella, who had a song in Melfest years ago called Bedroom that didn't get out of the semi-finals. This is called Vamos Amigos, and this is just a sort of breath of fresh air, sort of a Latin-inspired Spanish lyrics, very colourful, very bright, vibrant, very summery. And I think this is just what we need in the middle of the show to keep the audience invested and to keep people awake. Is it going to win? No. Mendes, I'll be honest, I don't think he's the best live vocalist at all. I think he's letting the backing vocalists and Alvaro do much of the work, if I'm honest with you. But this is fine. It puts a smile on your face for 3 minutes. It's nothing world class. It's good, but not incredible. And we move on. Song 7 is the favourite to win by a huge margin at the time of recording this video. I have to say, I'm surprised that she is such a clear favourite. It's Dotter with Bulletproof. Now, a few years ago, she had a song called Cry, which was quite quirky and interesting, and there was a lot of buzz around it, but it didn't even qualify. This, more accessible for sure, a lot more chart-friendly, radio-friendly, I guess, and it's still, like her previous song, a very interesting performance. It holds your attention, I think. But is this really the best song in this lineup? I don't know. It's all subjective, of course, but I don't think this is the best song in this year's Melfest lineup. I don't even think it was the best song in its semi-final. She was in semi-final 2, and something tells me she won semi-final 2, given the buzz that there now is surrounding this entry. She could be very difficult to beat. She's wearing this shimmery outfit with lights shining off her chest, and there's this bit where she interacts with a light as well. It's nothing fancy, it just looks pretty good. And Sweden know how to do staging fairly well, I think. They know how to elevate their performances, so they're not just bang average. Dotter sings quite well. The song, people love it. It could be our Eurovision 2020 winner. I wouldn't be surprised. We shall see. Moving on to song 8. I think people have forgotten about this. I think it's relatively underwhelming. It's Robin Bengtsson, once again in the Melfest final. Of course, he was there with I Can't Go On, and then he went to Kiev with that song and did quite well, with the Treadmills, if you remember. And then he had Constellation Prize a few years before that, which was this really charming song with a sort of harmonica. Really fantastic. Anyway, Take a Chance I find to be relatively cheesy. There's not a whole lot of movement. He's dressed quite casually. There's sort of stuff going on behind him, projections if I recall. And I did like the song the first time I heard it, but I've gone off it since, and I think that's the case with a lot of people. I'm not expecting this to do very well at all. Maybe a top 5 finish, maybe just outside a top 5 finish. He probably finished second in semi-final 1 way back at the start of February. But yes, I don't think Robin is going to be pushing for the win myself. He might be the highest finishing male artist. We shall see. Song 9, I think this is underrated. It's Shouted Out by Mariette. Now, I think this is the strongest song she's had in Melfest to date. Not sure too many people would agree with me on that, but I think this is a really wonderful song. It's pop with just a splash of rock, I guess. I'm not great at describing songs, but yeah, I think there's definitely a bit of a pop rock thing going on here. She has a guitar on stage, which I don't think is necessary at all. There's this rousing, stirring, oomph-filled chorus, for want of a better phrase. I think she performs this very well. There's a fair amount of energy to this, but nobody's really talking about its chances. Mariette has struggled in the public voting Melfest before, and I'm expecting more of the same, if I'm being honest. Song 10 is Boys with Emotions. Boys with Emotions, yes, by Felix Sandman. I mean, a lot of people are going to vote for him, probably because they fancy the pants off him. But being more realistic here, Boys with Emotions is very, very contemporary, I guess, because this is the sort of thing that you wouldn't be surprised if Justin Bieber released, you know, something like that. The staging's a little bit like Benjamin Ingrosso's a few years ago, and obviously he went to Eurovision. This song is... it's very sort of one tone, if you see what I mean. It doesn't really build up or go anywhere, at least not for me. There are projections on his outfit, he's got dancers next to him, it's very slick, you know. Clearly they're going for this look at me, I'm so cool vibe. And to be fair, he does a fairly good job. This got through the second chance round. He beat Frida Örn. That was always going to happen. I don't mind this song at all, but this should not be coming close to winning at all. Song 11 should be coming close to winning. It's the Queen herself, Anna Bergendahl, with Kingdom Come. Of course, she represented Sweden in 2010, didn't qualify. Outrageous. This Is My Life, my favourite Eurovision song to date. I've mentioned it many times before. And then she had Ashes to Ashes last year, which was a bit more country in style. The juries didn't like it for some reason. The public a little bit more responsive, but still, in the end, I think maybe a bit of a disappointing outcome. This year, Kingdom Come, fantastic. She's got this severe fringe, and she's wearing this black dress, and she's got these male dancers, and again, it's a very slick, polished performance. And really, you would not need to change a thing if this went to Eurovision. She was in the second semi-final, and probably was the runner-up behind Dotter, although I thought this was the more impressive standout performance for me. It is ready-made for Eurovision. Nothing needs to change. It's perfectly fine the way it is. She sings well. We know she's got a great voice anyway. The studio version's top-notch. And the only thing that I would like to see more of is a bit more colour overall. And I suppose you could say as well, this won't change of course, but you could say that the chorus, maybe there isn't much of one. You know, you're waiting for that really incredible moment and it doesn't really come, it just fades into the next verse. But it's still a very good song, I've listened to it plenty of times. Well done, Anna. It's great. And then finally, song 12 is Vem är som oss, which I believe is the only Swedish language song here, and that's very disappointing, isn't it? But anyway, Anis Don Demina is the performer, and this song is doing very well in the Spotify charts. Maybe a lot of young people are really loving this. It is a bouncy, catchy, fun song. Anis, of course, has been in Melfest before, but didn't qualify. I don't think he's an incredible live singer either. I think he's very reliant on the backing vocalists. But it's catchy, it's energetic, it is colourful, thankfully, and he's got this sort of other screen with him on stage as well, which I think shows his face. Can't quite remember, doesn't really matter. This is a fine song. He went through ahead of Elin Benediktsson and Simon Peyron. Personally, I would have had Surface in the final, which is certainly a lot more low-key. But I don't mind this. It's in Swedish, that's a plus. It's on last. The Melfest producers, Krista Björkman, usually puts a rather fun, somewhat silly entry last, I guess. I mean, he did it with Roland's last year, was it not? Or the year before? Doesn't really matter. This is fine. Will people really go big for it? I don't think so. Anyway, this is turning into a right Royal Rumble. Royal Ramble, sorry. My prediction then, I've got it here in front of me. I wouldn't take this too seriously, and it's all a bit jumbled up, so I'm going to have to do a little bit of working out here. But anyway, the song that I think will finish 12th is Vem är som oss by Anis Don Demina. I just don't see the juries going for this at all, and the public maybe not quite as much as maybe some of us are expecting to at this moment in time. Then I think it's going to be Mendes and Alvaro Estrella with Vamos Amigos. This is fun, but it's not something you can take too seriously. This shouldn't be going to Eurovision, but it's a fun song for the summer. After Mendes, one place above him, I have gone for Paul Ray. I think this song will either do really well, or it might end up not doing, again, quite as well as we're perhaps expecting. It's too slow-paced, I think, to really stand out. Plus, it's on early in the running order. After Paul Ray, I've gone for Felix Sandman. And unless the youth really go massive for this, I don't think he's really going to finish anywhere. Above him, it's then Mariette, I just see her struggling a bit in the public vote. The juries will appreciate her more, but the public, I don't see them getting behind this much at all, even though the song is really not that bad. Then I have gone for Mohombi. Can't see him really blowing people away enough either. After Mohombi, I have gone... sorry, I've missed one out here. It goes Mariette, then Robin Bengtsson, then Mohombi. Robin Bengtsson, it's the same thing. I can't see Robin blowing people away either. He might push for a top 5 finish, but I think it's relatively unlikely at this stage. Who knows? And then Mohombi, I think he might do slightly better. His song feels a little bit more current, so that might play a part. Then it's going to be Victor Kroner. I think he will be the highest finishing male artist. His song is certainly not that bad. I think he deserves to do relatively well. I think it's better than Storm, his actual Eurovision entry last year. And then I think it's the top 4, is it not? Yes. So in 4th place I have the Mamas. I think they'll do exceptionally well in the jury vote, but the public score might not be high enough. In 3rd place I have gone for Hannah Ferm, who I wouldn't be surprised if she won the public vote, but maybe 3rd or 4th with the juries. 2nd, I think, will be Anna Bergendahl. Sadly, I just can't see the Swedish public giving her enough points. And I'm telling you right now, I'd be shocked if the juries didn't appreciate this. So that means Bulletproof by Dotter, I think, will be the winner. I can see her just winning the jury vote. Well, actually, no. There's probably 1 or 2 points in it, in my prediction. And I think that Dotter will win the public vote. I mean, she's so far ahead of everybody else in the odds. But it might be fairly close overall. I mean, maybe just 10 points in it, that sort of thing. I don't know. Anyway, this video has really become a bit messy now. So yeah, let me know your thoughts on Sweden. Will Dotter win? Will it be Anna Bergendahl? Will it be the Mamas? It's bound to be one of those 3. Hannah Ferm, don't rule her out. Who's going to finish last? Is there an act from this year's Melfest lineup that you believe should be in the final but isn't? For me, it would be Malu Pritz. I just feel as though her second chance round performance was really not up to scratch. Her performance in the first semi-final was great. In the second chance round, not so much. Anyway, that's it. I'll be back at some point with another Eurovision reaction sort of video. Perhaps San Marino. Yes, indeed. And, yeah, I think that's all I've got to say. Apologies if the quality wasn't that great. And hopefully I'll see you again soon. Until next time, thank you very much for watching. And apologies if the quality wasn't that great. I think I've just said that. Oh dear. Bye for now.